All right, everyone, welcome back to Talking Soccer. I am your host, Justin Hornicker, and today we're going to talk a little bit of Julie Ertz and the U.S. Women's National Team. Because it was a bit of a shock that Julie Ertz was named to this upcoming window roster. Of course, they'll play tomorrow from when this video hosts against Ireland in Austin, and then next Tuesday against Ireland in St. Louis. And this is essentially the final showcase for a lot of players, Julie Ertz being one of them. There's a lot of questions around this roster in terms of a couple of players on those fringes that, are cutting it close with their injury recoveries and cutting it close with their recoveries. Like Julie Ertz is a prime example of someone who is cutting things a little bit close. The other big name, of course, being Catarina Macario, who was still working her way back from injury, and when healthy is one of the best players in the world. But with the amount of talent on the U.S. roster, can you bring back Cat Macario, who hasn't yet returned to training? And let's get into this a little bit, because I wrote a bit about this today on the Talking Soccer Medium publication, which I'll post down below. But it's no secret that the U.S. Women's National Team looks different without both Macario and Ertz. We've been talking about this for the past 2 years, it seems like. And there really hasn't, at least for Julie Ertz, there really hasn't been a replacement to what she brings at the 6. We can talk about formation a little bit. Because with Julie Ertz, the typical U.S. formation was more of a lone 6. So let's say a 4-1-4-1, for instance, where Julie Ertz is that defender, that defending midfielder deep in the midfield, sitting right in front of the center backs, that can kind of bridge the gap between the defense and the midfield and the attack, something that they have not done nearly as good enough of a job with since then. Now, we're talking within the margins here, right? Because ultimately, the U.S. still won, she believes. The U.S. still come up with big results outside of the England match, which is kind of where we're going. Because if they are to, actually compete to make the final of this World Cup, there are a lot of teams operating at a high level right now. France and England, for instance, being two of those that the U.S. has had troubles with within the past year. So if we can't replace Ertz, let's bring her back. Because I'll show you this kind of graph that Paul Carr posted on his Twitter that you can see Julie Ertz's impact in that she is very much a play stopper. Her strength in defensive midfield is that she has a presence where she can just eat up balls coming to the middle. And the U.S. has had trouble really controlling that, second third of the midfield, really controlling the center of the field. And while they've had success, through Lindsay Horan and, of course, with all the attacking talent that the U.S. has, you could go into it with a broken defense and still win a World Cup with the amount of talent that is there. But Ertz's presence will allow Vlatko, or a coach in the future, coaches in the past, has allowed the U.S. to operate a little bit more free-flowingly. And you watch this team, you see that they sometimes have trouble bridging that gap. And it just comes down to, moments of brilliance from the forwards, from Mal Swanson, from Sophia Smith, from Rose Lavelle even, in the midfield. And with players getting older and that new generation coming in, they haven't been able to replace what Julie Ertz has been able to give to this team. You look at the Taylor Kornieck experiment that didn't work out because Kornieck doesn't want to play the 6. Kornieck is not well suited to play the 6, and for some reason they thought it might work. I mean, Andi Sullivan is probably the best option there, but with Andi Sullivan, you're playing 2 6s, right? You're playing Lindsay Horan kind of right next to her, and it doesn't really suit Horan's skill set. Horan needs to be up further in the midfield, and when you're playing her back like that, you can see that she's not necessarily as effective as she is when she's playing in Europe, when she's playing for Lyon. And with Ertz, you're able to put Horan up further in the midfield next to a Rose Lavelle. You're able to kind of play your 3 attackers up in front of them, and you have a much better suited defense to midfield to attack, where you can transition more effectively. With Ertz, it's clear that they're a better team, not only because of Ertz's presence, but because of what Ertz allows the rest of the team to do. That being said, we have to talk about, why some of the sentiment around Ertz's return isn't as, cheery as we would maybe expect. And it's because Ertz hasn't played a professional game since 2021. And while, some of the discourse has been just in Vlatko and not necessarily getting his point across as well as I think he wants to, and that is, saying that play matters and that, game film matters and comparison matters. But the key factor of that is that Ananowski and the U.S. coaching staff visited Julie Ertz where she was training to kind of make sure that it was up to her standard and up to the standard of the U.S. women's national team. They thought that it was sufficient enough to get her ready for this window against Ireland. And then talked a little bit about Kat Macario and how Macario needs to get fit and needs to show him in games that she's ready to compete. So you have that kind of duality of, okay, Julie Ertz training-wise is okay to come back into the team, but Macario has to show it in games. But what that, is leaving out that Vlatko also went on in this press conference and in his later statements to say that this is essentially a tryout for Julie Ertz as well. So they saw enough for her in training to include her in this window, which is not the World Cup window, not necessarily as important as that final roster will be. It gives her an opportunity to kind of work back in with a little bit lower stakes and friendlies against an Ireland team that, isn't England, that isn't France, that isn't Spain, that isn't Canada, isn't Brazil, so on and so forth, right? So while that's kind of been a sticking point, it's more in Vlatko, kind of mixing up the messaging, I would say, versus, what the actual execution will look like. So it's essentially a call-up. Ertz hasn't played in 2 years. This gives her a way to kind of slowly work back in. She's been, like I said, training at a high level with it, MLS Next Academy. So then it becomes, okay, has she shown enough? And we'll know that after next Tuesday. Then it comes down to, she's going to have to sign for an NWSL team sooner rather than later. I think even if she comes in, she plays well, if she goes another 2 months without playing professional soccer, playing competitive soccer, then I think you're still questioning why she'd be included in the team. Now, if she shows that she is amply prepared, then maybe it's not as much of a question, but you still want her to be playing professional soccer heading into the World Cup. And it's interesting because obviously in the past, part of the issue is that she wants to stay closer to home, obviously with a family. Every player wants that. You want that for her. And as a free agent, she has the agency to sign wherever she wants. However, when you look at the contenders, when you look at the title contenders, the teams that Ertz should be playing for, the only real solution there is Angel City. When you look at the teams out west, San Diego doesn't have the room for the midfield, especially with Colaprico coming in and kind of being that player for San Diego. Ertz is probably still an upgrade from that, but salary cap-wise, that just doesn't work. And then you look at what OL Reign have, what Portland Thorns have. They're not going to be signing Ertz. Really, Angel City is the only thing that makes sense. It makes you wonder why the deal hasn't gotten done yet, because Julie Ertz does a lot for that midfield, not just in their typical 4-3-3 formation that they run with, but also allows them to maybe change up formation as well, or maybe, just have Ertz at the base of that 4-3-3 with the attacking talent that they have, and with Kristen Press potentially coming back soon. Maybe there's something salary cap wise there that isn't working out with Ertz's number, but it seems like the only thing that really makes sense for Ertz, and it really makes sense for Angel City as well, especially if she wants to stay close to home. She's not going to go to, say, Chicago again, God no, or anywhere out east. The only thing that really makes sense then would be for her to go to Angel City. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Where do you think Julie Ertz signs these upcoming weeks when NWSL season gets back? ahead of the World Cup. And do you think that Julie Ertz will do enough to prove that she belongs on this World Cup roster? Again, let me know down in the comments. If this is your first time seeing this video, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. And we're putting out videos a couple of times a week. So thank you for talking soccer with me, and we will talk real soon.